what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
You're listening to Arkansas Preps Weekly on Natural State Sports, your top source for the biggest news in high school sports across Arkansas.
And here we go.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us on episode 18 of Arkansas Preps Weekly. My name's Kyle Sutherland. As we continue our summer series, this is the second edition of the softball portion of the summer series. We talked with, of course, Jolie Mitchell as she was getting on a plane to head to the Women's College World Series. And actually, as we're recording this, Texas will be playing in the finals of said College World Series. So looking forward to seeing Jolie and the Texas Longhorns compete for a national title. But this week, we are joined by Mackenzie Childers, the Baptist Prep alum. You might remember her from the 2021 and 2022 seasons, of course, helped the Lady Eagles to a state championship her junior season, and now has played the past 2 years for North Texas pitching there. So going to talk with her a little bit about that, of course, her high school career, as well as plenty of other things. But before we get that going, I want to tell you guys about our friends at Athletic Field Service of Arkansas, because a properly graded infield is not only important for player safety, but also the field's health, and no other company in the state can match the exceptional service and dedication like our friends at Athletic Field Service of Arkansas in Sherwood. From infield renovation, lip removal and edging, mound rehab, laser leveling, and much more, Jeremy Rice and his crew have you covered. Call Jeremy at 501-94 sorry, about to give somebody my phone number. Call Jeremy at 501-416-1218. That's 501-416-1218 today for your free evaluation and consultation, or you can check them out on Facebook or possibly see what else they have to offer online as well by searching Athletic Field Service of Arkansas, both online and on social media. Athletic Field Service of Arkansas, we got the dirt on your infield. So without further ado, here we go with Mackenzie Childers, formerly a Baptist Prep, now with the North Texas Mean Green. We are now joined by former Baptist Prep Lady Eagle, and current North Texas pitcher, Mackenzie Childers. She has been with North Texas for the past 2 years, just finished up her sophomore season. Mackenzie, really appreciate you joining us. Look forward to talking with you.
I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad to talk to you too.
Well, let's go ahead and just talk about this past season. You had some really great moments, just like any player does. You had some really great moments, and you had some not so great moments. But you started off about as well as you could have. You had that no-hitter game. I believe that was the first no-hitter in North Texas, at least dating back to 2022. So it had been a little bit. But before we get into the actual ins and outs of this season, just kind of talk about what the college process has been, not just with on the field, but also in your studies as well. Just kind of how that process has been for you in Denton so far.
It's been really busy. It's been a lot of fun. College life, especially with my major, because I'm a biochem major, can be a lot, balancing academics and softball. Definitely had to learn time management my freshman year, but after you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun.
Let's talk about that, a secondary biochem major. I mean, that's just thinking about what your homework is like, what your tests are like, just makes my brain hurt. But as far as I know, you maintained a 4.0 plus through high school. I assume that this probably continued in college as well.
Yes, I have a 4.0 for the past 4 semesters. So
yeah,
hopefully keep it up.
Yeah, hey, that's right. Well, you're off to a good start so far. But talking about just this season, like I said, you started off with that no-hitter against was that New Mexico. So that was the season opener. And I think one thing that people forget about, that game went into extra innings, went into 8, and y'all walked it off at the end. So started off about as well as you could have asked. I think you only walked 2 in that game. So just about as well of a start to the season that you could ask. So how did that really set the tone for the entire year for you?
I think it set the tone well. Having a strong start definitely gave good energy for the rest of the season. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for some of the better games that I had early on. They were really good. I think, I don't know, it just set a good tone.
Well, and as far as just the entire season overall, like you said, I mean, it was a great start, and then you had some down ones as well. I've never really gotten into the mind of a pitcher. The only time I've really ever done interviews, maybe a podcast or two, but mostly post-game interviews and stuff like that. So I've never really gotten into the mind of a pitcher. I want to ask you first, do you have any, are you superstitious? Do you maybe eat some of the same stuff before a game? Do you listen to certain songs before a game? We'll start there. Do you have any of those?
I have a couple. I like to wear 3 hair ties on my wrist, so that's one of them.
That's the main one? Yeah.
That's my main one. Sometimes if I have a really good game with one hairstyle, I'll wear that hairstyle until I have a bad one.
Is it the mane that sometimes they call? I think I remember back in the day. Is that one of them that they had said referred to you as?
Yeah, with the ponytail. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was what Trey Pruitt or Coach Yelvington. Somebody, I can't remember who it was that.
People always told me. Yeah, they always told me they could recognize who I was before they saw my face because of my hair.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, just kind of digging in a little bit more into that. So, as I mentioned, pitchers, they have great days, they have bad days, just like any athlete does, just like any person does going through life. Is there anything that you do maybe differently as far as like if you have a bad game, is there a way that is it just one of those, okay, you just basically examine it that night, by the next day it's forgotten about? Or is it maybe just kind of like, do you have a process, I guess is what I'm getting at, if you have maybe an off game as opposed to one that was really good?
Mm-hmm. So something I definitely worked on since going to college is just learning how to like look back on the game, figure out what I probably could work on the next practice, and then just trying to let it go. Like before this season, I would say I didn't ever really have to work on like figuring out how to let go of a game, because like in travel ball, high school, you play so often. Like you're playing like 3 games a day. Like it's easy to let go, because if you don't let it go, like you're not going to play the rest of the day. So like having that time after games to like sit on it, like made me realize like, okay, I need to process and then I need to let it go, because you really can't carry your wins or your losses into the next day, because every day is a new day.
And just talking about dating back to high school, I know you and I had talked about previously that kind of the turning point, at least in terms of your skill, and it really took an increase, I guess you could say, from your 9th to your 10th grade year. What's really interesting about that, you didn't play much of your 10th grade year, like 4 or 5 games before COVID canceled that season. So talk a little bit about that, just the improvements that you made from your freshman to sophomore year, and then also kind of talk a little bit about what you did. I mean, I would imagine during COVID, you probably went to pitching lessons and did your typical stuff, but what was that season like for you personally?
Yes. So in between my freshman and sophomore year, so my freshman year ended, and it ended on, well, my last time pitching ended on a game where I didn't do too well, and I gave a lot of hits. And before then, like, I knew I needed to improve. I didn't really know how. So after that game, like, I realized, okay, so I really need to learn how to have command and accuracy with my pitches. So, like, that loss really carried over for the summer, and it helped motivate me to get better for my sophomore season. So, yes, I went to pitching lessons. I worked on a lot of accurate things. I'd set up a ball on a tee, and I'd make myself hit the ball off the tee from the pitching mound. So stuff like that is how I worked on the accuracy part. And I was just really motivated after that game. Like, I took it with me, and I let it motivate me to be better and be the pitcher that I wanted to be. And sophomore season, unfortunately, ended early. I think we would have done really well and gone far in state, but is what it is. But COVID, of course, I went to pitching lessons, but actually there was a tournament league in Oklahoma that was still playing. So I ended up picking up with the team and playing that season, and I got to work under, her name was Bobby Bridges, and she was a college coach, and she taught me a lot about pitching. She helped, I had fixed my accuracy at that point, so I was throwing a lot of strikes, and she helped me learn how to throw strikes and how to command balls out of the zone. And I think that's where a lot of my improvement came from during COVID.
Now, I know you're one of Jennifer Franklin's. Do you throw a bluebird?
I do throw a bluebird.
Okay, so I've never talked to, so Jennifer and I have only exchanged a few Facebook messages, but I've followed her through the years. I mean, just the amount of arms that she has had is pretty remarkable. But I know that's one that she teaches. Of course, Cooper Terry from Sheridan, I know throws a knife, could keep going. That's just the first one that comes to mind. But I bring that pitch in particular up because I can never call, like I might be watching a game, and if it's a righty throwing it, a lot of times, you think it's just a two seam that breaks, and it's really kind of tough to tell. And sometimes I notice with lefties, it might look like a rise ball as well. So talk about that pitch, but also some of your other favorites that you like to throw.
So that pitch is really fun. It's a split seam fastball, but the fun thing about it is that you can change what it does depending on your finger pressure. So usually if you put your finger pressure on the middle finger, you're going to get a break or a pitch that breaks inside and sometimes rises. And if you put your finger pressure on the ring finger, it's usually going to curve a little bit. I like that one a lot. I think it's fun. I think it gives, fastballs a little bit of spice, a little bit of movement. Flat pitches can be effective, but you got to be perfect at hitting your corners. So it allows for a little bit more room for error. Another one of my favorite pitches that Jennifer taught me is called a high cut. It's basically just a curveball mixed with a rise ball. I like to throw that one a lot, especially with 2 strikes. It's usually my chase pitch. She's taught a lot of girls a lot of fun pitches. She's a really, really good coach.
And I know Jennifer also works with your sister Macy, who will be a sophomore next year. Talk about Coach Yelvington as well, playing under him. Now, that knucklehead, I love that guy to death, but I mean, he always gives me grief every year. But no, we always have a lot of great conversations. He's always very informative. What was it like playing for him?
It was a lot of fun. He made softball a lot of fun. Like, he helped us understand, like, yeah, it's awesome to go out there when losing obviously is not fun ever, but it was competitive, but it was just a game. And I think that's something that people easily forget. Like, this is a game, and it's fun that we get to go out there and do it and enjoy it. But, yeah, he always pushed me to be better, so I enjoyed playing under him.
So after your sophomore year, they got taken away from COVID. That was the year that you guys won a state championship. So you beat Hackett in the first round. I know that there was some Hackett people that apparently weren't too crazy about me calling that a monumental victory. I personally thought it was one of the top victories in Hackett's history, but that's another story for another day, just because of how good you guys were after that state championship season still. I mean, really the favorite, really your junior and senior year, but we'll focus on the championship season. That was a crazy game because y'all were down like 1-0 through 4 innings, then just went on an offensive explosion in the 4th and the 5th, and then I think it was you struck out the last 6 batters or something like that crazy to win the game. So what really got you guys going? Really just have to score 9 runs in 2 innings after being blanked for 3 or 4, whatever it was.
I think what we really just needed was the first one. We just needed like the first couple of batters to get on for our offense to really spark. We had a really scrappy team that year. Of course, we had Macy Welch. It's her last year. So we're really motivated to win. But once we get that spark, like, it was really easy to get the bats going. Yeah.
And like as far as so you guys, it was Hoxie in that game. I know Hackett was one. I can't remember the exact lineup that y'all had gone through during that state tournament. But senior year still had a great year, like you said. And you pitched a really good game against Hackett. It was a pitcher's duel, a great one between you and Mackenzie Freeman was slipping my name her name was slipping my memory for a second. Just a freshman at the time, so. I know that that's really tough. Whenever it's tough to lose a game in general, especially a game that ends your season. But and I know your teammates, had your back and stuff around you. Obviously, played good defense. But to pitch a great game like that and to come up short, I know that's really hard on a pitcher.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely heartbreaking for sure. That was my last game with 2 of my best friends, Macy Henderson and Taylor Bourne. So that was hard. I was really proud of my performance that day. It was just a fight on both sides. Like, obviously, we both wanted to win. I think it was the ITB, the base runner on second, scored in our overtime, and that was how we lost. So it was heartbreaking, but I feel like, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Unfortunately, we just got knocked out that day.
And backtracking a little bit to, I guess, kind of backtracking a little bit, but talking a little what we are discussing. Your recruiting. I know that you had played for Tulsa Elite. You at least finished up with Tulsa Elite. Had played for multiple travel teams, but kind of talk about when your recruitment really got started. I mean, I imagine, when they were able to talk to you in September, your junior year, but was North Texas one of the first ones to contact you, and talk about maybe a couple of others that you had looked at?
Mm-hmm. So my recruiting looked a little bit different than most people's because of COVID. When like D2s and the other colleges could talk to me, I think it kind of got pushed back because of COVID. So I could really only talk to JUCOs through my the summer before my junior year. So that was a little crazy during that time. So I didn't really have too many schools on my radar because, COVID, I couldn't really go out to camps and stuff because everything was shut down. I was just playing at that in that Oklahoma league, which was fun. North Texas hadn't been on my radar, but that fall of my junior year, I was playing with Scotty Smith on Epic, and his daughter played for North Texas. She just graduated this year, and that's how I got connected with them, which is really cool. I'm very grateful to him because I wouldn't have ended up here without him. The other schools I was looking at, Memphis was one of them, and then a lot of the D2s in Arkansas.
And talking about that too, one of the things that people don't really understand, obviously if you haven't gone through it, but if you really don't look into it, recruiting is a very stressful process. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's exciting because you're getting to play at the next level. But what are some tips that you would maybe have? I mean, obviously, I would imagine patience is one of them, but what are some tips that you took out that might be able to help another kid that might be going through that process right now or will soon?
Yeah, so definitely patience. I think it's important to remember, like, everyone has their own journey. Like, you can't really compare what your recruiting process looked like compared to someone else because, like, you're two completely different people, and God's got a plan for both of y'all. It just is probably going to look different. A lot of people see, like, don't go on Instagram and look at all the people that are getting committed. Like, that's definitely one because that makes it hard to be patient. You're like, oh, but this girl and that girl. But, comparison's the thief of joy. So just trust the process. Like, if you really want to play and you're willing to put in the work, you're going to find a place because there's a home for everyone. Another tip that I have is if you're debating between, like, a few schools, making a pros and cons list is super helpful. That's what I did. And then just trust your gut. Like, after you, like, go through your options, weigh them out, just follow what your gut's telling you to do, and then don't look back. Do whatever you do and be fully convicted to do it.
And this year, I think it was like, because you had one start your freshman year, but you had like 19. I mean, you were definitely a big part of the rotation this year. Did you have a feeling, as last season ended, that your role was going to pick up a lot more, even well before the season began this year?
Mm-hmm. I did. We graduated our senior pitcher last year, Ashley Peters. So I kind of knew I was going to step in to fill that role of one of the starting pitchers leaving. I know I ended my freshman year pretty well, so I was pretty confident that, I'd probably get more opportunity this year, and I'm really thankful I did because I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I was glad that I could help the team out this year a little bit more.
Now that you're 2 years into your college career, you had that great career that we've discussed at Baptist Prep as well. What are, talking about the things that you learned from recruiting, what are some lessons that you have learned in the college life? Because, at the end of the day, a lot of times an athlete struggling, it's in their head. It's certainly not a lack of talent or anything like that. It's just really getting over that mental hump of, oh, can I really do this? So, I'm not speaking for you again. I mean, I don't know if you probably still have those moments at times, but what were some processes that you went through just to kind of help you with that and just to continue moving forward and to not get into your own head?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this year, I did struggle with some mental health issues. Anxiety was definitely a big part of that. Sports anxiety is definitely real. It's definitely underlooked, and handling it isn't taught as much as it should be. One of my biggest advice would be, like, start mental training as young as possible. Like, if you can find a mental coach, do it, because learning how to handle failure and how to separate your identity from softball is such, like, a valuable thing. And I think that's something that I was learning this year because I hadn't ever had to learn to handle failure on the scale that I did until this year. For me, it was learning and letting go of my identity being in softball because it can't ride on your performances. If you're letting that define you, then everything that you do, like if you have a good performance, it's going to make you feel really good. And then if you have a bad performance, you're going to feel terrible. And there's not ever going to be like this middle ground. So just letting softball be a game and just trusting, like, you know what, I had a bad game, I'll get it next time. Like just letting go and having things outside of softball is definitely a big thing. I think if you can find hobbies that you like outside of the sport you're going to college for, that's another great thing that you can do. So then when you finish your career, because unfortunately all careers do come to an end, you're going to have other things that you still enjoy. But yeah, just identity is one of the big things for me, finding it and the things that really matter.
We've been talking with current North Texas pitcher and former Baptist Prep Lady Eagles star Mackenzie Childers. Mackenzie, really appreciate you taking some time out to come talk with us. And you know, this is you were one of the first ones of this summer series that we're really excited about. So always love to check in on our former athletes, but also too really appreciate the advice that you gave to some of the younger girls. I know that they'll definitely take that.
No, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. I was really glad I got to share my story.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll ask you while you're in town this summer, are you doing any lessons? Or I think you maybe mentioned that at the top there. Are you doing any lessons for any kids pitching or anything like that?
I haven't many so far, but I was thinking about putting on a few clinics.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we'll be looking for that and definitely look forward to watching year 3 in the mean green uniform. So again, appreciate your time and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you.